Hello there. Welcome back to another episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
And today we have a great little episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Unfortunately, I know we said last week that a good friend of the show, Alden Diaz, was going to be on this episode. We had a scheduling mix-up, but today we still got a fantastic episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy to bring to you. Today we got episode 166, season 20, episode 10 of Star Wars in a Galaxy, One Way Out. Everything is coming to a head. It's getting intense. It's getting intense. We have the end of the arc, plus we're building to the finale of the show in 2 episodes, so that's going to be incredibly exciting. Jake, do you have anything to say before we get started?
What an episode this is. What an episode this is. Let's just get into it. Yeah.
So this is. Well, let's start with our A-plot. The A-plot of the story, of course. We pick up right where we left off with the quick burial and, getting away with the corpse of Ulaf, who has just recently died. And Cassian Andor reaffirms to Kino Loy that there is only one way out of this prison and that they've got to escape. The next day, as the Imperials as the Imps are bringing in that new prisoner, who I'm sure has a name, but I don't know. I'm checking, actually. I'm interested to see if the new prisoner has a name. I don't think that, no, the new prisoner does not have a name from what I can tell. Probably does, but I just can't find it on the Wikipedia page. Either way, as a new prisoner is coming in, Cassian finally gets that pipe that he's been scratching for the past few episodes broken. Water spills all over the floor, messing with the electric activation of the floor that they've been using with the tungstoid steel. As all the other prisoners start taking up arms with some of the pieces that they've been building out of, to riot against the guards. They steal blasters. They do everything they can. Pretty soon, level 5 is vindicated. Level 5 is completely under the control of the 4 prisoners, and then they move to liberate other floors, which they do in very quick fashion. The Imperials try to activate all of their emergency protocols, but eventually Kino Loy and Cassian get up to level 8, where Cassian begs Kino Loy to talk to the entire prison over the voice of God intercom that we've been hearing throughout this entire arc. It takes a little nudging, but Kino Loy eventually delivers this beautiful speech, which we will absolutely get into, urging his fellow prisoners to do everything they can to break out and escape from this horrific prison on Narkina. What was I gonna say? It's chaos. The Imperial officers are hiding in fear. There's running, there's gunning. Cassian teams up with a lot of his fellow prisoners, including Jembok Zal, who dies unfortunately in the attempt to escape, and of course Ruskat Melshi, who eventually he teams up with. A lot of the prisoners approach the exit of the prison, where they have to jump down into water. Kino hesitates as he tells Cassian he cannot swim, which leaves his fate ambiguous for next season. Although I do remember seeing something like a report like a year ago that said he would be in season 2, although who knows? Honestly, we don't know right now. But a lot of the prisoners who can swim jump into the water below as the prison is shutting down due to the main hydro power being cut off by one of the Imperial mechanics at gunpoint and forcing to go on backup power, which is something I forgot to mention before. Either way, the prisoners all escape into the water, and Cassian and Melshi specifically escape together as the A-plot for the episode ends. In the B-plot of the episode, Mon Mothma and Tay Kolma finally meet with Davo Sculdun, who Mon is incredibly annoyed at even the idea of having to meet with this man. But she tolerates it anyway, mostly for Tay and his sake, because he believes that this is the best way to cover up money for her charity that secretly is funneling money to the rebellion. Either way, Davo Sculdun seems remarkably understanding about exactly what Mon Mothma wants, and offers her this dilemma, which is basically that he will absolutely move the money around for a drop of discomfort, as he says. He wants to arrange an introduction between Mon Mothma's daughter, 13-year-old daughter Lita, and his 14-year-old son Stekken. That doesn't have to mean anything. It's just an introduction, which puts Mon at an important crossroads for where she wants to go and how far what she wants to risk in the future for the sake of the rebellion. Meanwhile, Ferrix, we only get a little bit of Ferrix, but we know that Marva Andor is not doing so well. She's refusing food. She's clearly seen better days. And back to the ISB, they're still trying to figure out stuff with Krieger and his men there. But leaving the ISB to meet up is one Lonni Young, who is finally, after all this time we've been talking about it, revealed to be the mole. It revealed to be a mole for Luthen Rael, feeding him information this episode specifically about Dedra Meero and her hunt for Axis and Cassian Andor. Unfortunately inspired a little bit by Cyril Karn, a little bit, but mostly by, just being Dedra Meero. Young makes it clear to Luthen that he was recruited by him around a year ago and that they have not talked since he was recruited. He desperately wants out, but Luthen tells him that he's just simply in too deep. But Lonni Young reveals to him that about the ISB's capture of one of Krieger's men and the knowledge that they tortured out of him of the attack on the Spellhouse Station, which puts Luthen as an important crossroads, which is whether or not to inform Krieger about the attack and reveal that to the Empire that they got a mole in there. But while they're talking about all of the sacrifices Lonni Young is making, Young asks Luthen about what sacrifices he is making, to which Luthen goes on the second epic speech of this episode, explaining exactly what he's sacrificing for his dream of a galaxy liberated from Imperial oppression. With Cassian finally out of prison, with Luthen finally revealing at least the emotional canon, as Joseph Scrimshaw calls it, of why he is who he is, and Mon Mothma going down an even darker path, at least for her, in order to achieve what she wants to for her rebellion. That is where we end this episode, which is actually quite shorter than I thought it was going to. I thought this was going to be in the 50 minutes. It was in the low 40s, and that's actually, I think, one of the strengths of this episode is how efficient it is. It uses every second, it uses every minute very wisely. Jacob, let's start with the A plot. Where do you want to go first for this A plot?
I mean, I feel like we have to start right at the beginning of this episode. I mean, this opening sequence, I don't even really know what I can say that would add to the conversation. Like, if you've seen this, you just know, I think, Kino finally changing his mind, Andor, Cassian, talking about frying the bridge as a sign of fear and sort of desperation for control, rather than, as Kino says, the existence of power. And he sort of pushes everyone to realize that the time is now. I mean, it's just absolutely, once again, I don't even really know what to add, but yeah, it's just so fantastic, and it really sets the tone of, it's now or never. It really is. And I think
it's now or never. The tension builds up really nicely at the beginning of this episode. The Cassian's insistence to Kino, they're afraid. Right now, they're afraid. And of course, one of my favorite lines from this episode, which is power doesn't panic. Cassian's absolutely right. Once those in power really start to crack down, they show you who they really, they didn't kill all of those men just because they could. They did it to preserve the lie that they're selling to their prisoners that release is possible. Why did the Empire institute the PORD after Aldhani? Because they were scared. Why did the Empire send Invader to Lothal after the Grand Inquisitor? Because they were scared. Why did the Empire send probes and countless forces across the galaxy after the destruction of the first Death Star? Because they were scared. It's it's just a base fear-based reaction, and Cassian and good rebels like him know how to both identify and exploit these moments. It is, we can see this across our own history and of course across galactic history. It is that this is what Luthen was trying to do with Aldhani. The whole point of the announcement was to, and the whole point of a lot of what Luthen is doing is to make the Empire clamp down harder so people can rise up against it. This is just how those power dynamics work. And Cassian has learned from Luthen and Vel and others around him, and this is how he plans what becomes this incredibly successful breakout from the Darkino 5 Penitentiary.
Yeah, I think something that you touched on, I think, is really important, which is that what Cassian realizes is that when the Empire runs on what their model is complete and total control everywhere and all the time. So anytime that's disrupted even a little bit, that's going to provoke sort of like you said, a panic reaction, and almost a massive overcorrection. And that's sort of what Luthen, in his own way, Luthen says, they're going to crack down, they're going to be brutal. That's going to, cause more discontentment. In his own way, they're both trying, pretty much all the rebels are trying to exploit this overcorrection. And that's how we get the breakout, I think.
Absolutely. Everything that happens in terms of the buildup is exceptional. We're waiting, and then it just kind of finally bursts. And it's exhilarating. It's exhilarating to watch.
Oh my!
It's just like the feeling of the energy that's pulsed into there, and it's extremely well directed. It's extremely well written.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Just the glee of finally we get to make the rules here. Finally, we get to rise up and show the galaxy that we aren't afraid. That it's them that should be afraid. That powerful line that also I feel like underlines this episode that Kino will repeat later, but Cassian tells him, "I'd rather die trying to take them down than die giving them what they want." This is the scene where Cassian truly commits to the cause. He gets it now. He gets the hang you by the same rope line from Luthen. He will. I believe he will only return to this true moment of rebel zeal on Yavin right before he goes with Jin to seal the plans for the Death Star. It's there are many of us who have done terrible things for the rebellion, but we're with you now, and if we go out together. Cassian's emotional arc for this season is complete. Now, the last 2.5 episodes, and of course season 2, we are going to watch him actualize what he's learned.
Yeah, I think that's the same journey, not the same journey, but he ends up at the same spot as Kino Loy, who I want to talk about next, because his come around to all this, and his speech, in the bunks that he gives to all the guys the morning of the breakout is just so memorable to me. I mean, when he says, I'm considering myself already dead, no one's getting, we have that
no
one
moment is getting out.
I mean, that moment, I just had chills, so much chills when that moment, when you see everyone's talking, discussing chaos, the discontentment in the ranks, and then you see him, looking at we get that amazing close up where he's sort of processing it and trying to hold on, and then all of a sudden you just see the dam burst in his mind. It's just like, fuck it, we're not getting out alive. We're gonna go out with a bang no matter what. And he has to let go of the dream that he's had for so long of getting out, by being the floor controller, the floor manager, by enforcing the rules, doing everything that he's done, his whole way of life, his whole way of survival in this prison. He's sort of, in that moment, he really has to let go of that and burn that.
Yeah.
And we can see that. We can see that in his face. It's amazing.
Yeah. And of course, the night before, Cassian can't sleep, just like Nemec couldn't pre-Aldhani.
Yeah.
It's one of those. I remember seeing this episode for the first time, and he can't sleep, just like you said. He's thinking about his experiences on Aldhani, on Morlana, hell, on Ferrix. Everything that he's experienced in his life, it all comes down to this. It's the tension is built up so incredibly, and then it's all just released in this riot. And give me a second, I need to find this poor prisoner, because I feel so bad for him, because he didn't know what was going on, and like all of a sudden he's just brought into this, and like, I don't know, I'm worried for him, because at least all the other guys knew what was going on. New prisoner Andor, one way out. Let's see. Actually, apparently I just Googled this. There's a Reddit post specifically. Let's see. Is it Beernock?
Possibly.
No, it's not Beernock. No, it's not
Beernock.
Know. Give me a second. Let's check. No, he's one of the guys who he was already in there. He died. Oh, and the new guy died. Holy shit. I didn't catch that.
I think he did.
Okay, I'm looking at this. Like his literal entry on Wikipedia is Ulaf's replacement. Goddamn, doesn't even get a name. Holy shit, my god, I just feel terrible about that. That's horrible. And the actor doesn't even get credit either. Wow, that's brutal. Well, now we need.
He didn't have any lines, so it might have just been an extra.
No, I think it was probably an extra. But now we need to get an entire Disney Plus series about this guy. But anyway, no, I'm almost serious. But anyway, yeah, no. And then of course, right before they all break out, we have the infamous line that is chanted all throughout this episode. There is only one way out. It's a great mantra for this episode. So chantable, so inspiring yet realistic, concise yet memorable. Like, goddamn, the running of the Narkina 5 prisoners that has been videotaped and photographed at celebrations often has them chanting one way out. I should show you those videos. They're incredible to see at cons and stuff like that. It's like, I just remember seeing the last ones from Celebration London. We're recording this right before, like a month before Celebration Japan, which I'm sure there will be more of them out there. It's a powerful damn episode. I prefer Follow the Light from the Pit as that chant. I don't know if you remember that one for the Visions one.
Off the top of my head.
When they build the big pit and they have to get down from the pit. They have to get up from the pit, like the huge, like gigantic hole in the ground.
Yeah.
Follow the light.
I think I remember that.
Damn, that's damn good too. Reminds me of that, even though I think this was before. Either way, yeah, Toby Haynes, Bo Williman, their combination of just killer for this episode. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, and of course, the ultimate thing that breaks everything for the Imps is the water. We have the Shawshank like grinding on the pipe this entire time, and it's all to release water. Water, I mean, in fiction in general, but in Star Wars has often had a very potent thematic role to play, and it there is something very poetic about the fact that, of course, the whole prison is built on water, but just one bit of water getting released into the prison is enough to make it all short.
It all comes apart at the seams.
Yeah, Nicholas Bertel's score when the water is spraying out is superb. The Nicholas Bertel score through this entire episode feels way more Star Warsy than most of the previous, like most of the first like 6 episodes. And I don't mean that necessarily as
it has more of that, classic orchestral feel, which I think is very appropriate. As much as I love the score and all, as much as I think the score is fantastic in all these episodes, very, 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 very good fit for this episode. But yeah, speaking of, I think frying the floor, when the floor fries and then it shorts out, and then we see that we have that shot of Kino standing on the floor barefoot, and he realizes that he's alive and that nothing happened, and just that deafening silence, and we see his face, and we see, for him, the sudden shift in balance of power as the hand of God, effectively, that the Empire used to control Kino's every move and all these prisoners' every move for years and years and years, all of a sudden is gone. And that is just, I mean, all credit to Andy Serkis, the actors, the directing as well. That's just, it is palpable through the screen.
It's exhilarating.
The feeling of just like, oh shit, like the Empire fucked up now. Shit's gonna get real.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think I think I really like what I really like about this episode is the prison break scenes, especially, is the way that it plays with and expresses power and the power differentials and the balance, shifting and reversing around so quickly. I think that they just it's executed and sort of emotionally communicated so well, like the entire bridge sequence as well, the unspoken dynamics as they take the bridge, ordering the controllers around, the guards huddling behind the door hoping the prisoners don't find them. After basically the crushing absolute omnipotent almost power the Empire had over these men just last episode, it feels like, you said, it's exhilarating, but also it's sort of surreal, and
it's surreal, it's cathartic,
and you can tell that it's surreal for the guys as well,
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like there's that, like right before they're all like, right before they know they're all about to do this, like there's like, there are a bunch of, like, they're talking to each other, they're like, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'm already dead and stuff like that. Like, they know the weight of what they're about to do, but what they don't realize is the weight, and I truly believe this, of the weight that what they're about to do galactically. That this is not an isolated event, that this is not necessarily destined to happen or anything like that, but like this is the Empire sowing. They were, oh no, this is the Empire reaping. Whoops, this is the Empire reaping. They sowed a lot of these seeds of fascism, and just now they're, starting with Aldhani, and of course starting with things before then, like what we saw in Obi-Wan Kenobi and Solo and Jedi Survivor, and all the projects you want to talk about in this Rebellion era before this. This is them reaping. This is them, this is them facing the consequences of what their brutality has done to people.
Yeah.
That's all this is. This is consequences. And it's powerful to see. It's incredibly powerful to see. Yeah. And it keeps building and building and building. Yeah, and they just like seeing Cassian and Kino like going up all those steps and freeing people left and right. There's that like there's that one scene of, I don't know what floor this is on, but another floor, and Melshi blasts an Imperial guard over the guardrail, and he just lands on one of their tables, and Melshi just looks at them like, hey, you guys, it's fucking time. Let's do this thing.
Yeah.
It's just so great.
Yeah. Like, for the people who had no idea this was happening in the other floors, can you imagine? Like that?
Yeah,
oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, no,
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, and it being the fatal blunder. That's the other thing. It being the fatal blunder of them frying 100 guys just to keep the secret, and then the secret doesn't stay kept anyway. It's just fantastic. Just to see all of this, the dominoes are falling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they storm level 8. I think that's the next thing we need to talk about, is them storming level 8. Cassian and Kino, and them learning about the whole hydropower thing, which is very interesting. Again, like Aldhani, in this way of like the Empire doesn't understand the resources that they are still trying to control, because a little water can, short out their entire infrastructure, yet the little water can short out the entire infrastructure, yet the entire structure is itself powered by water.
Yeah. Well, I guess Cassian's kind of right. Once again, he's right about the Imperial sort of arrogance, where he says, you can walk in, steal their food. You can walk in and break their pipes and spill water on the floor, because they would never imagine that a prisoner would intentionally do that. They just are like, we've got the floor and they're barefoot. They're never going to do shit.
Yeah. It's finding those
advantage of that. Once again, he's proven right.
Yeah, he's proven right. Luthen's proven right. That whole ideology is proven right. And it's one thing I will say, and this is not a criticism of this episode, because this episode was trying to accomplish very specific things, and it did accomplish those very specific things. I'm just interested from a universe perspective. Is I want to see the Imperial response to Narkina. Like, I want to see, because some of those imps are of course left alive in the Narkina 5 prison. And I want to see, once the Empire sends their landing ships there, sends, the regional governors, the Moffs, the whoever, like, I want to see exactly what their reaction is. I know it's not good, but how much are the guards blamed? How much is the same way that we instantly got the reaction for Cyril because of what happened on Ferrix, the same way we instantly got the reaction from the Empire writ large after Aldhani. I'd love to see just like a short story or a comic or something like that about Imperial reactions post Narkina 5. Like, the idea of an entire prison break, of course, like, it's a big galaxy, they can keep it covered up pretty easily, the Empire could, but that's still a big deal that they would have to forcibly try to keep covered up. And judging on how, media like this deals with this in this era specifically, 5 BBY being like the big catalyst of when a lot of major rebel activities started happening because of Aldhani, because of Lothal, stuff like that. I'm very interested to see, like, what does the Empire do with this? How do they cover this up? How do they keep this quiet?
Yeah.
Because we know they do, but it'd just be interesting to see how.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to know kind of what level, like, how big was this really for the Empire? Like you said, at the top levels.
It's fascinating to think about. Let's see. Do we want to get to the big speech, or do you have anything else before the big speech?
No, I think we should do it.
All right, I'll give you this big speech if you want to read it, because I want to take Luthen's at the end.
You could do both. I know you're gonna do a better. I know you're gonna do a better job than me. If you want to put it down.
Okay.
Just go for it.
No problem. Okay. My name is Kino Loy. I'm the day shift manager at level 5. I'm speaking to you from the command center on level 8. We are, at this moment, in control of the facility. How long we hang on, how far we get, how many of us make it out, all of that is now up to us. We have deactivated every floor in the facility. All floors are cold. Wherever you are right now, get up, stop the work, Get out of your cells, take charge, and start climbing. They don't have enough guards, and they know it. If we wait until they figure that out, it'll be too late. We will never have a better chance than this, and I would rather die trying to take them down than giving them what they want. We know they fried 100 men on level 2. We know that they are making our sentences up as we go along. We know that no one outside here knows what's happening. And now we know that when they say we are being released, we are being transferred to some other prison to go and die, and that ends today. Say it with me now. There is one way out. Right now, the building is ours. You need to run, climb, kill. You need to help each other. You see someone who's confused, someone who is lost. You get them moving, and you keep them moving until we put this place behind us. There are 5,000 of us. If we can fight half as hard as we've been working, we'll be home in no time. One way out. One way out. One way out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just incredible, that after so long, sort of being the Empire's enforcer, and putting his absolute all every day into making the factory run smoothly, making these, components for the Empire, that he gets to,
Cassian finally broke through to Loy.
Yeah. He gets to say, fuck this.
Yeah.
He gets to say, fuck the Empire.
Yeah, no,
we're getting out of here. It's a
great
beautiful
about
moment,
this
man. I don't even know what to say. It's just a beautiful moment.
What's great about this is that Kino, I believe that Kino had always had this inside of him. He just needed Cassian to bring it out. What I love about this dialogue specifically is that unlike Luthen, who is such a skilled, we'll talk about Luthen later, but who is clearly such a skilled statesman, who is very, very good with words. This feels authentic. This doesn't feel like it was scripted. This feels like Kino was coming up with it on the spot, which of course he was, in a way that I feel like Luthen wasn't. Like Luthen, we'll talk about later, was had been mulling that question that Lonni asked him over in his mind constantly. Cassian has to egg him on a little bit, even. And all he does is state the facts. He says everything that they've been figuring out, but that encouragement of and that zeal that he is, starting to bring out in these guys, that ends today. You need to run, climb, kill. You need to help each other. That's the other thing. It's that compassion. What I think is so key to this, especially because, the Empire is so anti-compassion. That's the whole point of this, is that even though technically it is teamwork that is getting them through, they are still so anti-compassion. They're still trying to create competition at every opportunity. I will also mention that just because of our own societal constructs about men showing compassion, that kind of, I feel like, bleed into here a little bit. It's really special to hear, an adult man say, you see somebody who's confused, someone who's lost, you get them moving and you keep them moving. You help them. You help those left behind. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And this is liberation. This is them freeing themselves because nobody else is doing it for them. Hell, nobody else freaking knows what's going on. Yeah, it's fantastic. Bo Willman rates it great. Andy Serkis delivers it great. The fact that it is being delivered over the same voice of God, Calm, that has been delivering the on-program orders, stay on program or you're going to be electrocuted, blah, blah, blah. After the journey that Loy's gone on through these last 2.5 arcs, as you mentioned, it's powerful shit. It really is. It's powerful fucking shit. It's well written. I'm going to spoil this right now. And I think even before we watch Daughter of Ferrix and Rick's Road, I can pretty confidently say that One Way Out is my favorite episode of Andor. And it's going to take a lot for season 2 to rival One Way Out. And look, I understand that I am biased, like that, not biased, but like I have a sort of Andor bias. I understand that. What I will say is, I've ranked, after Skeleton Crew, I ranked all 73 episodes of live action television. It's been an ongoing project. I didn't just do it all on the fly. I just actually really just put Skeleton Crew in after, because
Okay. Yeah.
I've been maintaining this since I think probably season 3 of The Mandalorian. So, but either way, point being, of my top 20, there's 73 episodes. Of my top 20, there are only 2 episodes of Andor in my top 20.
Are they 9 and 10?
They're 9 and 10. They're 9 and 10.
Yeah. 9 and 10 are my favorites as well. This was just,
and look,
gosh, Lord,
but then again, I was gonna say, also, like, there's only 1 episode of the Book of Boba Fett in my top 20. There's only, like, it's not like to say that is an insult to Andor necessarily. I'm just saying, like, Andor makes it in my top 20 past even other episodes that I love, like episodes of Ahsoka that I love, episodes of The Acolyte that I love, episodes of, the Mandalorian that I love. This is, I don't want people to think that's really what it is. I do not want people to think that I hate Andor, because I do not. I really don't. I have a lot of problems with people discussing Andor, but that is mostly the people's fault and not Andor's fault. I just want to make that clear. It's just great. And then, of course, do you have anything else to say about this game before we get to the water?
I kind of said, I don't even, there's not too much to add. This is just after all the build up, after everything we've gone through, after everything Cassian's gone through, these and 3 episodes, all this, these 3 episodes just feel like an eternity in a good way. Like they just, it
You're
almost
right about
feels, and I think maybe this is, I don't know if it's intentional, but it works to the show's benefit that, my experience watching these, especially when, you're spaced out watching them week in, week out, like we are.
And like they were released.
It really feels like once we get to the prison, the rest of the show for Andor, the rest of the story disappears. Everything that's already happened feels like a different show, a different story completely. All that matters is the prison. That's sort of
it's going to be interesting.
That's the effect that the incarceration is having on these guys.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, because we're recording this after we've been revealed the release schedule for season 2, which is going to be different. We know this. The release schedule for season 2 has been revealed to be 3 episodes each a week for 4 weeks. Basically an arc a week. We're basically getting what I've heard people call it, and it's not wrong. They're not wrong. Although I think this is like slightly is a weird way of saying it, because I still think it is a TV show. But like basically, I've heard a lot of people describe it as we're getting an Andor movie a week, basically, as opposed to last time where we got the first arc all on one day, but then every other episode we did, it was 1 to 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 6, and then so on and so forth up until 12. No, but it's. Yeah, you're right, that after all of this buildup, after all of this tension, finally to get this release, it's incredibly cathartically built up. I think that nobody's listening, and part of why I love it is really the lowest point in this series. But it's always darkest before the dawn. And I think they perfect that sensation here, that the dawn is so sweet after it's been so dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after everything, after all that we've been through with Mr. Kino Loy, I can't swim. Hurts the soul.
Yeah, that's really...
It hurts the soul.
Gosh, yeah.
Yeah. I hope we see Kino Loy again. I really do. Let me look, actually, give me a second. I'm curious right now. Will Kino Loy Andor season 2? Let's check. So the quote that he gave to Screen Rant, to Andy Serkis gave to Screen Rant about this, says, "If Kino jumped, that would be the end of him and he would be out of the picture. But no, he's alive and he's working out his next move. It's incredibly gratifying to know that the writing resonated. But the fact that people are responding and are emotionally engaged in these characters, and every single one is so written and complex, it means something. So a lot of news outlets then interpreted that as, yes, he is returning. But there's nothing in that statement that says to me, yes, he's returning. It's just, hey, I think he's out there somewhere planning his next move, and it means a lot that people like this. That's not the same as, yes, he's returning to me. So I think it's actually up in the air until we see Andy Serkis on the screen in Andor Season 2. And believe me, I'd love to see him. I'm going to take it as a probably not, but hopefully.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, but we just don't know right now.
Yeah. That's the other problem about Andor Season 2, and this is a good problem to have, is that we have so many new characters that we need to deal with, and returning characters as well. Plus, of course, we have Krennic coming into the season and all the stuff to deal with him. There's a lot of stuff we got to do. And if Kino doesn't fit into that, I will understand. As always in Star Wars, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people don't value enough in Star Wars. Honestly, a lot of fans don't realize how important this is, which is the importance of comics and books and video games. Expanding these stories beyond what we see on the big screen and small screen. There is room for that, and if you're interested in it, then chances are Star Wars writers are interested in it, and so chances are it will get covered in some way. Just because it's not addressed in a film or a TV show does not mean by any means that it is forgotten about. That's what I'm trying to say. So
I agree with that. Yeah.
Do I want to see more Kino Loy? Yes, absolutely. By all means. And do I think we'll get more of him someday? Yes. Whether it's in Andor Season 2 or not, who knows? Where do you want to do? I have an idea. I want to cover Ferrix very briefly, just because it's so small, and I feel like it might get lost in the shuffle a little bit elsewhere.
I mean, there's literally just one scene.
Yeah, and it's just that Marva, isn't taking her medicine or really getting food or nutrition of any kind, which is bad. And I don't want to gloss over that. The only reason I am kind of doing it now is A, because as Jacob mentioned, the scene is so short, and B, because we will get way more into this next episode. Next episode is I feel like next episode, and a little bit, of course, the finale.
That's where it kind of
Marva's
comes back.
episode.
Yeah, everything comes back to Ferrix and Marva's, front and center once again. But I think this, I almost wish they hadn't included this scene. I don't think it detracts from the episode by any means, but with so much excitement and so much tension, just all being focused on the prison, it kind of gets lost.
Yeah, I understand.
It doesn't feel like it has a place here. I think the intention, and I think the effect is which is valid, is saying, hey, don't forget about Marva. This is what
is to set up the last two.
Yeah, it's setting up the last two, and it's saying this is what it's reminding us of what Cassian is fighting for, what our hero is fighting for.
Yeah,
as he takes on the greatest odds yet that he's going to face of pretty certain death. Should any part of this prison escape go wrong, or should they lose their nerve or not, So from that angle, I can appreciate it, but overall,
no. But I just thought it was important to bring up, just so we didn't forget about it. Let's get to the meeting between Mon Mothma, Takolma, and Davo Sculdun. Don't you think?
Now this is interesting. Now this is interesting because we don't really know what Davo's deal is. We can guess. We have a pretty good idea of what his deal is. But he does do a good, he clearly, cuts the figure of a refined gentleman. But I mean, all credit to, I'm not sure who the actor is off the top of my head.
I wrote it down. Richard Dillane.
All credit to Richard Dillane. He does a fantastic job of nailing that very, very kind of fancy, fancy, high class, high society, upper crust, what have you, while also being like a little bit, a little bit sleazy and a little bit
I
like
named the last episode. I
a
named
little
the
bit
last
evil.
episode of In a Galaxy Chandrilan Thugs. That's what he
Yeah.
is. He's a thug.
Mon Mothma's whole back and forth with Davo, where he clearly knows that she doesn't approve of him. He does not heed international, or I don't know. He does not heed interplanetary monetary law. To be sure, we don't know what he really is doing, because Mon Mothma really doesn't like him, and the words that she uses kind of seems to imply that he has some sort of major criminal enterprise that is engaging in serious violence against people on some level. But I think I love their conversation, all the kind of veiled talk about traditionalism, privilege, piracy, and all the euphemisms that Davo's using. But then we get to what he really wants, because money is
slow
no
down for a
object
second.
to him. Okay.
Yes, slow down for a second. I want to get there. What I love about this whole thing, there's actually, this reminds me a lot of, actually, I don't know, maybe just the trappings of like a rich gangster and stuff like that, because that's what,
he's like he's a mobster, bro. This is
he's a mobster. He's a mobster.
monster.
He's a wealthy mobster, but he's a mobster. What I love about this whole thing, and the way Bo Millimon writes it specifically. Like I love the speeches. This is the best, to me, written scene in the episode because of something very specific. It's a game. That's what this is. It's a game. And I'll give credit to Davo Sculdun on this one thing only, which is I forgot how much, like, he recognizes from the moment he steps in, before, frankly, but from the moment he steps in, he recognizes that this is a game. And to be frank, if this is a game, this round, he won.
I mean, he was clearly enjoying the fact that Mon doesn't like him, and that she was, pissed off and kind of off balance and everything. Like he was into that.
Yeah.
No.
Now, look, I'd love to get more details on Davo Sculdun and exactly who he is. He doesn't seem like he likes the Empire, but it's not like he hates them to the degree that Mon does. I
think he's looking out for number one.
Yeah, I would. I would argue that I would say his stance to the Empire is probably pretty neutral. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that he doesn't like Mon, probably because she represents the elite in a lot of ways that he, as he's been trying to build himself into the elite, and the elite has presumably, again, I'm building a lot of this backstory in my head, but just based on like how they talk about him, as the elites have been kind of, as Mon does, thumbing their noses at him a little bit. I understand why he feels so joyous about getting one up on Mon Mothma. I totally understand why he's acting the way he does. I mean, he's still a scumbag, but like, yeah, and yeah, the Mon has never had to play games like this before, but she's never had to lead a rebellion before, and I think this is smart what Tay is doing here, which is easing her in to playing these games. The games that Luthen has had to play so many of.
Yeah. Because we see the contrast later with the decision that Luthen makes versus the decision that she makes.
Or the decision that she struggles with, yeah.
Where Luthen,
because Luthen struggles and doesn't struggle at all. Just because again, as Mon says said in the last episode, even the thought of having to meet with this guy, let alone the deal thing, which we haven't even gotten to yet.
Yeah,
the idea of having to meet with this guy repulses her in a level that is just so visceral. And this is the woman who has to stand around listening to the Emperor and his lackeys talk all day. This is a big deal for her. My point in saying all of this is that Davo Sculdun utilizes this so well. Already, notice before he even mentions any deal, notice already how he's talking about Chandrila and marriage stuff.
Yeah.
Because
that's true. That's true. I just realized you're right.
He's hinting about what he does. He's hinting about what he's doing before he even does it. And I think that's to make Mon even more uncomfortable. Because, the shock of announcing it all at once would be one thing. But what's worse is to have Mon dreading it.
Yeah.
I believe because he was hinting at it so much beforehand that she knew what he was going to request of him before he did it. And that dread made her even more miserable. This is a truly sadistic. Yeah, I always confuse sadism and masochism. Yeah, this is sadistic. This is truly just a sadistic thing that he's doing to Mon Mothma, and it's horrible to watch. Also, I will also just say that Sculdun is apparently that kind of asshole. I wrote in my notes, and I feel like I need to mention this. He's that kind of asshole who says the word privacy with the short I.
Privacy. Oh God,
privacy.
Yeah, you're right.
He's that kind of asshole. Just so you know exactly the type
That's
of guy
just
we're
a high
dealing
class.
with
That's
right
just
now.
a high class British accent, which is sort of the which he doesn't have completely, but that is traditionally Star Wars' signifier of, hey, this is a bad guy. If they have like a posh British way of speaking, they're like, yep, you're a villain.
Yeah. But then we get, of course, to this deal. Which I love how this is written, and it's so poignant with our themes right here. Because Mon is leading this progressive revolution. She is leading this thing based on, this progressive ideology, anti-fascism, all about change.
Yeah.
The one place where she can't express this, where she can't fight for this at all, is within her own family. And it is the personal versus the global, or the larger scheme of things, where she is building up this huge alliance around getting people to believe in all these values, and she can't even get her own daughter, mostly because of the fact that she's not around for her daughter, and her daughter rebels against the rebellious by being traditional.
Yeah, the counter culture.
It's the counter culture, yeah. But what I love about this so much is that, and I don't know, I think probably Davo Sculdun did his research, which is how he knows this. Because let's be clear, Mon hates the idea of arranging a marriage for her daughter, especially because of her progressive ideology, also because of who she got put with in the first place. There's that point where in the conversation where Davo Sculdun says, "I've met your husband several times," and I just wrote in my notes, that is not the endorsement you think it is. Let's be clear, buddy. That's not an endorsement. And yet, here's the thing: as much as Mon hates the idea of an arranged marriage, Lida loves this idea.
Yeah, I mean, Lida loves Lida is very, very traditional, and she's embracing that, mostly because she knows that it gets under Mon's. Mostly entirely because she knows it gets under Mon's skin, and if you've lived with. If you've ever lived with a teenage girl like I have with my sister, you know that, I don't know. I guess this is not gender specific, but
no,
especially girls sometimes have a propensity to do things that they know will piss off their mom, especially.
Yeah, I mean,
that makes it all the sweeter. And Lida is 110% on that wave, bro.
This is the DNA of Star Wars. George Lucas became a filmmaker because he didn't want to continue his business at his father's stationery store. Like, you know, this is tale as old as time stuff. But of course, it comes to Mon to make that personal sacrifice in order to advance her own goals of fighting for freedom in the galaxy. And freaking, what do you call it? And Davo knows that fact, but furthermore, Davo loves that fact. He's relishing in that fact. It's this great dilemma, and it's so well built up in the episode. I love it. It's great. I will also point out earlier in the conversation something I didn't bring up, which is one of the great lines from Davo Sculdun. One of the indulgences of great wealth is freedom from other people's opinions.
Yeah. That's again, it's very euphemistic on his part, you know. But I think he's sort of using his iconoclasm. He's using that almost as like a metaphor for, or the episode's using that as a metaphor for him kind of being a bad guy, or being a criminal.
Jacob,
being a monster.
I want you to think about something, okay, for a second. I'm just getting into hypotheticals right now, okay? What if you were placed in charge by like the leader of a country and making the country's bureaucracies more efficient, say, and you decided, because your mind is stuck in a meme lord from 2012.
Oh no!
To name it after an animal meme that you really liked. I'm just saying, hypothetically. But one of the indulgences of great wealth is freedoms from other people's opinion. I'm just saying, hypothetically. I'm not talking about anything specific, except for I totally am. Hypothetically. Hit hard a little bit.
When you're rich, you can be a huge, massive loser, and people will still defend you.
And even if they don't, and even if you don't, you have the money to defend yourself, so it doesn't matter. Do you have anything else to say about this great exchange between Monte and Davo? Or do we want to get onto the whole scene that I'm sure anybody listening to this show has been probably begging us to get to for this hour? We've been having this conversation roughly. Do we want to get there? What are you feeling?
I think we got to do it. This is, in many ways, this moment is sort of the heart and soul of the show laid bare for us to see. I really believe that.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from for that. What am I gonna say? So Lonni, we get our big reveal. Lonni Young is a mole for Luthen Rael. Giving him information. He has a daughter at home now. They haven't spoken for a year. All about Dead Ramiro and her interest in Axis. One of the funny things, one of the fun 5D chess things that Luthen does is he deliberately lies to Lonni about Aldhani. He says, we were invited, but we decided not to, which is just so funny to me.
He's never not like taking a precaution and playing angles, you know? He has to leak false information to see.
Yeah.
You know?
And of course, like, you have to prepare for those contingencies. If he tells them, if it accidentally spills out, like, no harm, no foul, and all that kind of stuff, but you have to make him think you're trustworthy and all that kind of stuff. Like, I feel so bad for Luthen because, like, I know he wants to take credit for this. I know he does, but he doesn't to Saw. He doesn't to Mon. And although Mon figures it out because she's Mon, and he doesn't to Lonni. But I know he wants to take credit for it.
Yeah, he can't have the satisfaction. He talks about the ego. Like, but Lonni, of course, because Lonnie's sacrificing fucking everything. His whole life and his whole career and his whole family, all that for this
for vengeance against the Empire for some unknown reason, but I'm sure he has a great reason for it. What do you sacrifice? Oh, well, actually, first, of course, then he finds out about, then Lonni gives him the information he really needs to know about the Anto Krieger mission and about how that is doomed to fail because now the Empire has captured one of his soldiers, which leads Luthen to a very important decision to make, like Mon, in this episode, which is, what does he do? Does he send these guys, his allies, to die, or does he let the Empire know that he is a mole and endanger the mole? And that's tricky. And we'll see what his answer is in future episodes. And what do you sacrifice?
Calm, kindness, kinship, love. I've given up all chance at inner peace. I've made my mind a sunless space. I share my dreams with ghosts. I wake up every day to an equation I wrote 15 years ago, from which there's only one conclusion. I'm damned for what I do. My anger, my ego, my unwillingness to yield, my eagerness to fight. They set me on a path from which there is no escape. I yearned to be a savior against injustice without contemplating the cost, and by the time I looked down, there was no longer any ground beneath my feet. What is my sacrifice? I'm condemned to use the tools of my enemy to defeat them. I burned my decency for someone else's future. I burned my life to make a sunrise that I know I'll never see. And the ego that started this fight will never have a mirror or an audience or the light of gratitude. So what do I sacrifice? Everything.
Yeah, I mean,
look, it's almost become cliche at this point to talk about the speech because, you know, like everybody says it's, everybody knows, like this is like the Empire Strikes Back of Star Wars speeches. To say it's good is like, yeah, duh. Yeah, duh, it's good. As I said in the intro, as I was summarizing this episode, I do want to know specifically Luthen's actual background and like what was the thing or what were the things that made him realize, because he seems to come from a pretty privileged place. What are the things that made him realize, holy shit, I need to do something about this and I need to become, you know, basically the operative behind the scenes, putting people together, figuring out these things, building this whole network for the cause of bringing down this fascist empire.
yeah.
But the emotional canon, as Joseph Scrimshaw has said on Force Center, the emotional canon is all there. We know the why. We know that, you know, he 15 years ago, which at this point actually, which comes to about 2019 BBY. So around the time of the Empire's formation, he saw what was happening and he realizes, oh shit, gotta do something. He wrote an equation, I think probably a metaphorical equation. I don't think it's a literal equation.
Yeah.
And by the time he realized exactly what he had gotten into, it was in its own words, too late. Yeah, he is, as I've said, and I think credit to Alden Diaz. He is the Moses of the Rebel Alliance. You know, he is destined to lead his people to the promised land that he knows he will never go to.
Yeah.
You know, I remember making this comparison on Twitter after this episode came out. It's the speech at the end that Alexander Hamilton gives at the end of his show. What is a legacy? Like planting seeds in a garden you'll never see. And it's beautiful. It's just beautiful to listen to this guy reckon with his own mortality, to reckon with his own flaws. That's the other thing that's so special about this, is that he's recognizing his own fallibility, and it's powerful.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He's like, I can't control my ego. Like, I know he knows that eventually he's going to slip because of that, because he wants to do too much. He wants to take it further. He wants to make his mark. And we kind of see what a tortured person he really is. Like, I think he's kind of alluding here, and maybe the show is alluding that there's another side, and maybe season 2, maybe with season 2 coming oh so soon, time will tell. that there's sort of another side to Luthen that we haven't seen of, what he's really willing to do, what he's really capable of doing for the rebellion.
Yeah,
In terms
absolutely.
of him talking about the tools of my enemy and things like that, where we just, oh gosh, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, no, but what I think is more interesting, honestly, with this about what he says is actually ironically about what he doesn't say. Because he says, because he justifies, Luthen Rael, this man justifies why he's still doing this by that sunk cost fallacy. By the time I realized what I was doing, it was basically too late to quit. Mr. Rael, I'm calling BS. I don't think that is why he's still doing it. And, this is, I'm going to bleed this in. I know I said I wouldn't talk about this other than the first episode and when Olin was coming on, which, in fairness, I thought was going to be this episode anyway. So, but there are so many people who talk about I like this show because it's not Star Wars and all that kind of stuff. So, because it's different from Star Wars, all that kind of stuff. But look, what I'm about to say is the most Star Wars thing about this is, and this is an episode. Part of what I love this episode is that this is, and again, this is something that I will credit to Alden, that if he were going to be on this episode, I thought if he were on this episode, he would say, I'm telling you, this is part of this series realizing that it's Star Wars. We, as the series goes on, we are getting closer and closer and closer and closer and closer to A New Hope. So we have to get closer and closer to Star Wars. Why is Luthen still doing this? Hope.
Yeah.
That's why he's still doing this. It's because he has hope that this will all turn out okay. And we know, based on what comes next, that he is ultimately proven right. Everything happening in this season occurs so that not only the second season, but Rebels, Rogue One, and subsequently the entire original trilogy can happen. That's how this works. All of this is happening so that New Hope can happen. So that the Death Star can be destroyed, so that the second Death Star can be destroyed, so that the Empire can topple, so that the New Republic can form. That's what's happening. That's why this is happening.
Yeah.
End of sentence.
It's sacrifice to plant the seeds.
Yep. And look, the bewilderment, of course, again, I've been praising him this entire arc, and he's great, and I'm so excited that he's co-writing the Dawn of the Jedi movie with James Mangold. But let's be real. This speech is great, but I think a large part of the reasons why this speech is so great, and no offense to Bo Milliman in this, Stellan goddamn Skarsgård. Dude,
home run every time. This man might be my favorite actor ever. Actually,
his range. I've since watching Andor, I've gotten into a lot of other franchises and stuff like that, and his range in apart from all the non-franchise stuff he's done that I'm not as well read on, but this guy doing all of this as the Che Guevara, a little bit of Star Wars, as a Che Guevara sort of figure in Star Wars. Then, doing his pirate shit as Bootstrap Bill in Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3. And then being this fucking crazy ass astrophysicist in Thor and Thor the Dark World.
Yeah.
And the Avengers.
This
guy's range is impeccable. This guy's range is so damn good. Holy shit. We need to have an investigation into these fucking Nordic actors, because it's him and it's Mads Mikkelsen and it's Bill Skarsgård. These guys have such fucking incredible ranges. It's Lars Mikkelsen as well. We can't forget about good old Grand Admiral Thrawn himself. Just wow.
Hats off, man. Nothing else to say.
And the elevator door closes. Cassian and Milshi scamper across the grounds of Narkina
Yeah.
5, and the episode ends.
Gosh. Yeah.
Lovely.
Sure, this was a
Great
triumphant
episode.
episode.
Triumphant episode.
absolute-
My favorite episode of the season. Yeah.
It was
Andor.
a moment for Star Wars.
Yeah. Narkina
A
5
moment.
has yet again sold me on Andor. And I mean this arc. This arc has sold me on Andor yet again. Gets me hyped up for season 2. What a great time we had. Hello everyone, Future Eli here, just telling you that next week we will be covering episode 11 of season 1 of Andor, A Star Wars Story, Daughter of Ferrix, with special guests Eleanor and Sophia from the Daughters of Ferrix podcast. See what we did there? Anyway, back to what we were saying. But yeah, I think if that's it, I think that's going to be it for this episode of Star Wars in the Galaxy. Thank you so much for listening. In the meantime, you can listen to us everywhere. Follow us on BlueSky at inagalaxypod.bsky.social. Follow me at ochifan.327.bsky.social. You can listen. You can follow me everywhere at my linktree, linktr.ee/_ochifan327. Follow us on Instagram at inagalaxypod. Epic confrontations. By the time this releases on Friday, I'm hoping to have the coaxium run up. That might be a little ambitious, but who knows? We'll figure it out. But I want to have the coaxium run up. That is my goal, to have the coaxium run up. But if not, it will be out soon anyway. Hope y'all enjoy that. And other than that, I think all there's left to say is, may the Force be with you. Always.